If there's anything that you could point out where I was a little different was the fact that I never mentioned winning.
Shakespeare said it best. His life was gentle and the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, this was a man.
Right here on this UCLA basketball court, history was made. Sports legends like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Walton, and Keith Erickson soared and scored their way not only to fame, but straight into the hearts of Angelenos, the nation, and the entire sports world.
But behind the basketball, the one and only coach John Wooden stood proudly and strongly, encouraging and influencing his players' every move on and off the court. Good evening. I'm Darren Horton.
And I'm Micah Ullman. Tonight in this KTLA 5 News special, we're remembering John Wooden, the legacy, the legend, the man from ground zero of his greatest successes. UCLA's Pauley Pavilion, we're front and center on Wooden's court with a very special one-hour tribute to the most revered and respected coach of all time.
You might already know Coach's stats. Right here, the sports icon brought the UCLA Bruins to an unprecedented 10 national championships, leading his teams on an unparalleled 88-game winning streak. The UCLA dynasty truly built on the late John Wooden's shoulders.
But tonight, we'll take you past the scores and beyond the net with exclusive interviews one-on-one with the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Keith Erickson, and Jamal Wilkes, plus lost footage of the Wizard of Westwood himself.
Now, John Wooden, remembering the legend with the players and people who knew and loved him best. With Coach gone, the game forever changed, yet his legacy lives on in every life he touched.
They called him simply Coach. It actually became the title of one of his books. But the first thing you should have to know about John Wooden is that he would have been very uneasy with flowery tributes or touching retrospectives. Embarrassed, really.
No one's ever going to measure up to what he did and who he is and was.
The record will show that during UCLA's dynasty years from 1964 through 1975, John Robert Wooden won an unfathomable 10 NCAA titles during a 12-year stretch. His Bruins were the Yankees, the Lakers, and Lombardi's Green Bay Packers all rolled into one unbeatable package.
He really wanted myself and all of us who participated in the program to get our degrees and learn what it meant to be a good citizen and to be good parents and husbands and responsible human beings. And that was the most important thing for him.
Practically all my players got their degrees, and you'll find them in all different professions. I think there's close to 30 attorneys, there's 10 or so dentists, and there's 8 ministers, there's teachers. And their joys are your joys, and their sorrows are your sorrows.
No less an LA folk hero than Vin Scully recalls first moving here and carrying too many grocery bags up the steps of his small apartment on the west side.
And I couldn't open the gate because my arms were full. And a man stepped out of nowhere and said, "Here, let me help you." And he opened the gate. And then I said, "Thank you." And he said, "Hi, I'm John Wooden. I'm the basketball coach at UCLA." He is not a coach. He is more than a teacher. He really is a genius in his ability to inspire. And I think there are a few giants that walk amongst us, and he is certainly one of them.
And how he loved his late wife of 60 years, his high school sweetheart, Nell.
Peace does comfort as I ponder a reunion in the yonder with my dearest one who's waiting for me there. Now, do you think that winning a basketball game or a championship can compare with something like that?
Next, 2.5 Men. It's life according to Uncle Charlie.
You have a girlfriend yet?
No, I'm a bachelor like my Uncle Charlie.
So you're never gonna get married?
As long as I got someone to clean my house and some aperture on a regular basis, I don't need a wife.
Okay, bye-bye. On 2.5 Men, tomorrow at 7 on KTLA 5.
And don't forget the milk. Pat, I thought this was your morning to grocery shop.
I am. Watch this. I'll take the USDA Choice Sirloin Steak with 2 eggs, hash browns, and 2 hot cakes. Times 5. My family will be here any minute.
Norm's USDA Choice Sirloin Steak and Eggs. At only $7.99, it's always a good deal.
Honey, forget the grocery list. Meet me at Norm's.
Norm's Restaurants, where life happens 24/7.
June at Pechanga, win up to $1,000 every day, plus weekly gas card and Sea-Doo giveaways, all leading up to a Yamaha 212 SS. Break away to endless possibilities. Pechanga Resort and Casino.
Introducing the Accord Cross Tour with available 4-wheel drive. For great leases and low financing, see your Honda dealer today.
In the world of TGI Fridays, 2 people can dine for $20, now including items from our famous Jack Daniel's Grill menu. Share a delicious appetizer, then choose 2 Jack Daniel's Grill entrees, like our mouth-watering ribs or grilled chicken brushed with our famous Jack Daniel's glaze made exclusively for TGI Fridays. Complete the meal by sharing a dessert. For a limited time, select items from our Jack Daniel's Grill menu are offered in our 3 courses for 2 people for $20. TGI Fridays, where you and your friends share good food and good times.
What'd you find out?
Enjoy yourself, right, man? Hours and hours of enjoyment.
Gossip Girl, tomorrow at 9 on KTLA 5. Actress Tilda Swinton unveils her new labor of love. Plus, she's BFF with the Jonas Brothers on their hit show.
You win.
Actress Chelsea Staub joins us Monday on the KTLA 5 Morning News.
Welcome back to our KTLA 5 News Special, John Wooden, The Legacy. We're remembering the sports icon players simply called Coach, right here in Pauley Pavilion. John Wooden coached for over 27 years, won a spectacular 620 games, and coached 180 players, some of whom are the greatest athletes to ever play the game.
That's right. UCLA's Bruin dynasty was born right here with the likes of 7-foot center Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and 6'5" forward guard Keith Erickson. When legendary Kareem got the call that Coach Wooden was gravely ill, the Hall of Famer immediately got on a plane from Europe to get here in time to say goodbye.
Now KTLA's Wendy Birch goes one-on-one with the basketball greats and finds Coach Wooden taught his players as much about life as he did the rules of the game.
Here he is, Lou Alcindor, 7 feet 1 3/8 literally the biggest attraction in collegiate basketball.
And right in the middle of their problem is Lou Alcindor. Unstoppable.
I did something that, in a way, I'm a little ashamed of. I left him in, he scored 56 points.
I left Coach's hospital room about 3 o'clock, 3:15. He passed at 6:45. The whole idea of appreciating his life is really what it's all about. We knew that at 99 years of age, Coach Wooden wasn't going to be around a whole lot longer. But it was time really to appreciate what he gave us, and it was so much. You didn't really want to think about that while he was alive because he was still here to enjoy and share it with. But now that he's gone, You look at it and it's a mountain.
It's with a mountain of grief, legendary athlete Kareem Abdul-Jabbar remembers Wooden's powerful coaching words that shaped him not only as one of the world's best basketball players, but the man and father he is today.
Some of the stuff I was like, what is this all about? Then after I became an adult and got married and had children, all of a sudden I started to get it. I'd remember certain things that Coach Wooden made us deal with. And I was able to use it to good effect in trying to raise my children.
Born Lou Alcindor, he played 3 championship seasons under Coach and arguably became one of Wooden's most famous players with his signature sky hook. Like many of Wooden's players, he was always in touch with Coach, even after he left the court.
Coach Wooden kind of expected that, and it's more or less what we thought it should be, because there was always one more question you had to ask him or one more incident that you wanted to share with him.
And so did powerhouse center Bill Walton.
And there's the All-American Bill Walton.
Coach Wooden considered us to be his boys, literally, you know. We were like kids that he pulled in off the street and showed the right way to do things. And he wanted us to be part of what he was all about. Bill marched to his own drummer. Let's just put it like that. And he and Coach Wooden had a few differences of opinion that it involved Coach having to put his foot down. You know, Bill didn't want to get his hair cut. Coach Wooden had to let him know that if that was the case, then he was going to have to go play somewhere else.
To Kareem, Wooden wasn't just a coach on the court, but a coach in the game of life.
The life skills help your basketball game. You know, this is a team sport. You have to. It's not about you, the individual. It's about what you can do to help a team achieve its goals. And you have to be a team player, and you have to have a broad knowledge of what that's about.
You know, you were sounding very Wooden-like right there.
Well, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree yet. So, you know, I sat under that tree for a while and got clonked on the head by a couple of his apples. Some of it stuck.
Also, before his storied NBA career, Keith Erickson played on Coach Wooden's first 2 NCAA championship teams at UCLA in 1964 and in 1965.
Fundamentally, we were very sound. We were the best conditioned team in the country, and we knew it. And so we weren't cocky or overconfident. We just went out and we're just doing what he told us to do. His canvas was in practice. He was a teacher. He taught. And he took advantage of every minute of that 2 or 2.5 hours that we were out there. And he was always teaching.
In 1964, Wooden's Bruins went 30-0 on their way to the national championship. Erickson says Coach's emphasis on the team's conditioning allowed him to introduce their unbeatable secret weapon, the full court press.
That full court press, every game that season in 1964, every single game, we knew that the pressure was going to get to that other team. At some point, we'd run off 6, 8, 10, 14, 16 points in a row, and the game would be over.
Yet Coach demanded that his national champs remain humble and graceful in victory.
And he would call everybody around, all the players around, he'd say, listen, don't go nuts at the end of the game. You act under control like you're supposed to. You let the students and the alumni look like idiots. You be under control. He didn't get upset. I never heard him swear. He would raise his voice, but you knew you were in trouble when he would blow that whistle and say, goodness gracious sakes alive.
They hit him, gracious sakes alive. When they'd hear me say, goodness gracious sakes alive, they'd say that was my profanity. And they knew they better hop to it.
Like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Erickson stayed very close to Wooden across 5 decades. And today, though the particulars might fade, the overarching sense of the great man remains.
People ask me all the time, well, what was it like playing for Coach Wooden? What did you run? What did you do in the I don't remember all that. What I remember was the kind of a man he was. He was a man of his word. He was a man of integrity. That's what stood out in my mind as I look back about him. He was a man of character.
And Coach's character showed itself once again recently when Erickson stopped by with some friends for a visit at Wooden's trophy-filled home in Encino.
You know, with all of these awards and accolades and he, picture of Sports Illustrated, you know, on the cover, a multitude of Teacher of the Year, Coach of the everything. With all of those things, I said, Coach, how would you like to be remembered? And he answered immediately, and he said, "I'd like to be remembered as being as close as I could have been to the man that my father was."
But before John Wooden coached the greatest players at UCLA, he coached at a South Bend, Indiana high school, where many who knew him then say he was destined for greatness. They were called the Wooden Men. And during his coaching years at Central High School in South Bend, the boys' basketball team was the first to win undisputed conference championships 3 consecutive times. Jack Swank was a sophomore in 1942.
We were all basketball crazy, so whenever we'd go to the game, we knew as long as he was coaching that we were going to win it.
Swank says he enjoyed watching the legend on the sidelines of every game.
To me, just seemed to be destined for greatness, if you will. And even in those days, in the mid-40s, during World War II, this guy, every time I would see him at a basketball game, was so calm and so, what do we say, collected?
Wooden came to Central High as an English teacher and a coach in the mid-30s, and according to Swank, was one of the most intelligent people he's ever met. His favorite quote?
Small details are important because it's the small details that get the big details going.
Just 5 years ago, Swank mailed a copy of the winning 1943 Bears basketball team picture to Wooden.
Just a little note saying thanks, so you brought back some memories.
The high school coach left a lasting impression on Swank, who says he will always remember the legendary man.
And his honesty is the thing that I would remember more than anything else. We need more people like that.
Coach Wooden had 3 main rules for all of his players. Be on time, don't use profanity, and never ever criticize a teammate. Truly an incomparable teacher and coach.
He certainly cared more about his players becoming successful and giving people rather than scoring NBA contracts. Coming up next, John Wooden's legacy lives on with his Pyramid of Success motivational program. What is it, and how lives will be forever changed because of it?
What if a touch awakened a world where dolphins dance, performers fly, and spirits soar? Introducing Blue Horizons, a new show at SeaWorld.
It's definitely a family car, but it's not a station wagon, and it's not a minivan, and it's not an SUV. It's called the Ford Flex. It's very smooth. You don't feel like you're like, it drives like a car, but you get all of the benefits of the SUV. You could put all your kids in here and all their stuff. There's a little compact refrigerator that you can get. My Land Rover costs much more, and yet this has more to it and costs less. That is cool. That's very cool. There's no doubt. I traded up to a Ford.
At the Palazzo Las Vegas, the only thing that matters is the moment. Like the moment you realize that every room is a spacious luxury suite. The moment you find yourself entertained on a whole new level. And especially the moment you learn it's all within reach. Book your Palazzo Special Moments package today at palazzolasvegas.com.
Bye-bye and good night with pink roses, bed light with lilies o'erspread. He's my baby, sweet head. Lay you down now and rest. May your slumber be blessed. Lay you down.
It's time we see the tobacco industry's free samples for what they really are.
Free tobacco?
Surprise! It's Empire's 50th anniversary, but you get the gift. Free installation on hardwood and laminate flooring. Shop at home and enjoy the quality name brands, great prices, and next-day installation Empire is famous for, with no interest for a year. Plus, right now, we'll install your new flooring absolutely free. It's our gift to you. But hurry, free installation won't last long. Call today.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
This summer, come to SeaWorld for all the rides, shows, and animal encounters. Then stay for the late night fun of summer nights. All for just $59. Plus, your second visit's free.
My name is Nikita. I was forced to be an assassin. 3 years ago, I escaped and have been hunted ever since. I was the first recruit to get out. I'm going to make certain I'm not the last. I could have gone better.
Nikita, coming this fall to KTLA 5 The CW.
Coach, the Wizard of Westwood, architect of a basketball dynasty, but the title he surely preferred best, teacher. Welcome back to John Wooden, The Legacy. Even though Coach Wooden is no longer here, his skills, knowledge, and principles will live on with his pyramid of success. Now, what exactly is this pyramid philosophy he coined and created? And how can it change your life? Who doesn't love Coach Wooden? Andy Hill was not a fan when he saw very little playing time under Coach at UCLA in the early 70s. That's Andy on the left, and as usual, on the bench.
I sat on the bench for 3 years. We went 87-3, won 3 national championships, and I was really unhappy.
25 years later, older and wiser, Hill made a call to Coach Wooden.
I picked up the phone in 1996 just to say thanks, really no more. Kind of staggering to think how one phone call could really change your life, but that phone call clearly changed mine.
Hill had gone on in his life to become a successful LA TV executive, but it had dawned on him that he owed his success in large part to the lessons he learned, albeit begrudgingly, from Wooden.
Coach's lessons, those silly lessons he taught us in college, became more and more relevant, and he became smarter and smarter. And I found myself sounding more and more like him as I grew older.
What Hill had learned were many of the building blocks of Coach Wooden's pyramid of success.
Coach defines success, and as part of his pyramid, as peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction and knowing you've done your best to be the best you're capable of being. Peace of mind. It's not that lottery commercial where everybody's yelling and screaming and money's flying and pretty girls are everywhere, and no, it isn't that. It's peace of mind. He was a man at peace with himself, and the idea of success being tied to something that isn't loud and isn't something that's for others to see, but it's quiet and internal, is pretty simple, but it's pretty radical.
Once Hill reconnected with Coach Wooden, he embarked on a new life path, writing a book with Wooden titled Be Quick, But Don't Hurry.
I quit work to go write a book. I didn't have a deal, I didn't have an agent, I didn't have a thing. In hindsight, what the heck was I thinking? But what I was thinking was John Wooden had given me a gift, and the only thing I could do with it was to give it to other people.
The book applies Wooden's pyramid of success principles of cooperation and team spirit to the business world. And in business, just as in Wooden's basketball program, success depends upon the solid pyramid cornerstones of industriousness and enthusiasm. But Hill admits to having had second thoughts about stealing Wooden's wisdom.
I felt a little guilty. And typical of him, he said, Andy, don't worry about that. He said, you know, I stole all this stuff from other people too. That's where everybody gets their ideas. The real question is, who do you steal from? Well, I stole from the best, John Wooden.
Now, Hill does motivational speaking around the country to spread the Wooden philosophy. 2 years ago, Hill hosted Wooden's 97th birthday bash at his home. But what Andy recalls most profoundly is that initial visit to Coach Wooden's home in 1996 to reconnect and chart a new life after 25 years apart.
I knew that we were now turning a new page, and I pulled out of the parking lot and drove around the corner, started to cry. I just hadn't thought about that in a while.
Coach Wooden is sure to remain the standard by which excellence is measured. He was a three-time All-American basketball player, including College Player of the Year his senior season at Purdue. Plus, he was the first person to have been inducted into the Hall of Fame as both a player and a coach.
Coming up next, former Laker and UCLA All-American Jamal Wilkes with his favorite Wooden memories, plus LA sports columnist Bill Plaschke remembering John Wooden, the legend, his legacy, and the man.
And don't forget the milk. Pat, I thought this was your morning at grocery shop.
I am. Watch this. I'll take the USDA Choice sirloin steak with 2 eggs, hash browns, and 2 hot cakes, times 5. My family will be here any minute.
Norm's USDA Choice sirloin steak and eggs. At only $7.99, it's always a good deal.
Honey, forget the grocery list. Meet me at Norm's.
Norm's Restaurants, where life happens 24/7.
I've always wanted to do this, sir.
Buckle up.
Mario, there's a big left turn coming up. Funny. Mario, I kind of have to go to the bathroom.
We have a left turn coming up.
I got it.
Crosswalk.
I see it.
I'm hungry.
Honda performance lives in our race cars and in the Accord and Civic Coupes. See your Honda dealer for special offers or go to shophonda.com and enter for a chance to start an IndyCar race with Mario Andretti.
We're set for global transmission.
Welcome to the new America.
Erykah Badu. The Out My Mind Just in Time Tour, 2010 AD.
June 20th, 7 p.m., the Greek Theater. Special guests, Lupe Fiasco and Janelle Monáe.
Erykah Badu.
Tickets are available now at Ticketmaster.
Erykah Badu.
Another Nederlander concert.
June at Pechanga, win up to $1,000 every day, plus weekly gas card and Sea-Doo giveaways, all leading up to a Yamaha 212 SS. Break away to endless possibilities. Pechanga Resort and Casino.
In the world of TGI Fridays, 2 people can dine for $20, now including items from our famous Jack Daniel's Grill menu. Share a delicious appetizer, then choose 2 Jack Daniel's Grill entrees, like our mouth-watering ribs or grilled chicken brushed with our famous Jack Daniel's glaze made exclusively for TGI Fridays. Complete the meal by sharing a dessert. For a limited time, select items from our Jack Daniel's Grill menu are offered in our 3 courses for 2 people for $20. TGI Fridays, where you and your friends share good food and good times.
This is college. Boring, isn't it? But this fall,
my first kiss went a little like this.
The CW will take everything good about college. Pretty cheerleaders, co-ed living, full contact competition, and bring it all together.
I think she forgot her pole.
In a groundbreaking new show.
My mom was there to cheer me on. And then she puked on me.
Hellcats. On the next 2.5 Men, it's life according to Uncle Charlie.
You have a girlfriend yet?
No, I'm a bachelor like my Uncle Charlie.
So you're never gonna get married?
As long as I got someone to clean my house and some action on a regular basis, I don't need a wife.
Okay, bye-bye. On 2.5 Men, tomorrow at 7 on KTLA 5.
Game on. E3 gets ready to play in LA. We gear up for the world's largest video game expo with a preview of the big show.
We got a sneak peek.
Monday on the KTLA 5 Morning News.
The life lessons taught by John Wooden have become legend. My favorite Woodenism? Material possessions, winning scores, and great reputations are meaningless in the eyes of the Lord because he knows what we really are, and that's all that really matters. Now, Micah with All-American Bruin Jamal Wilkes' reflection of a coach.
I think the general consensus of opinion is that every school in the conference will be stronger than they were a year ago, with the exception of UCLA. And of course, we can't be expected to with the loss of an all-time superstar like Walton, and of course, a real star in Keith Wilkes.
6'6" Jamal Smooth as Silk Wilkes played alongside Bill Walton during UCLA's record 88-game win streak under Coach Wooden. But all those wins are not what come to Jamal's mind as he reflects. You had some great years with Coach Wooden here at UCLA, national championships in '72 and '73. What do you remember most?
Well, it was an incredible time. You know, we were very fortunate to win a lot. And to this day, I'm still pinching myself at how much we did win, because his focus was never about winning games. It was about being the best we could individually and collectively. I just remember his leadership, his presence, and how he led by example. It was just really incredible to be around someone like that day in and day out, who was so remarkably consistent. Our practices were just off the charts. With him, it was an art form, and we were part of his canvas. You know, you knew you had to bring your A game, and if you enjoyed playing basketball, if you loved basketball, it was the closest thing to basketball heaven on earth that I can think of.
At UCLA and under Wooden, Wilkes saw himself as simply another contributing member of the team. But the intervening years have revealed Coach Wooden saw Jamal as something much more. Coach Wooden was once asked about the ideal basketball player. I'm going to read you something that he said. He said, "I would have the player be a good student, polite, courteous, a good team player, a good defensive player and rebounder, a good inside player, and outside shooter. Why not just take Jamal Wilkes and let it go at that?"
Yeah, it sends chills down my spine. I don't know where that came from. I was like any other dreamer, young kid with big dreams that came here, and felt overwhelmed a lot, didn't know what I was doing here, but was appreciative of the opportunity, and I just did the best I could. I don't know where that came from, but I treasure the fact that he said it, and always will.
After UCLA and through his NBA career that included 4 championships, Wilkes sought the wisdom of Coach Wooden for reasons other than basketball. You stayed in touch with Coach Wooden over the years. What did that do for you?
You know, you reach out when you need it the most, kind of thing. Usually when I was going through major challenges off the court, personal, I found myself reaching out to him more and more, and thinking about what he would say, and he would never talk down to you. He would never preach to you. But he really helped me get through some really personal challenges that to this day I just deeply appreciated, and influenced me to make decisions that were the right ones for me at that time.
Coach Wooden was really more of a life coach than a basketball coach. What do you take from that?
Lately, what I would think about is make each day your masterpiece. You know, yesterday's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. Tomorrow hasn't come yet, and it's not promised to you anyway. The only thing you have control over is now, today, which will influence tomorrow. You know, I would think about that a lot.
Wilkes saw Wooden on 2 of his final nights in the hospital, and even to the end, Coach was in charge.
I went over and I'm saying, "Hey, Coach, it's me, it's Jamal." I said, "Do you remember me? I was here last night. You remember me?" And, you know, he had his glasses on and they had fogged up. He said, "I want my glasses." And his attendant said, "Coach, you have them. They must be foggy." And he took them off and he wipes them and he gingerly puts them back on. And he opened his eyes and he looked at me and he said, "Yeah, I remember. Now go sit down."
Now, looking ahead, Wilkes will chart a path without the company of his larger-than-life friend and mentor. But not to worry, Coach Wooden has left behind enough riddles to keep Jamal guessing.
I know what I'm going to think about going forward. He would ask you, what's the most important word in the English language? And you would sit there and you'd look at this legendary, incredible human being, 1 in a billion. You say, okay, what's he thinking? And you take guesses, and he'd say the most important word in the English language is love. And boy, you go, that rocks you, you know. I mean, and I know that's what I'm going to think about going forward. And I don't know what that means yet, but if it was that important to him, it's that important to me.
Next, remembering John Wooden the man, plus his lifelong love affair with his wife, Nell. Don't go anywhere.
Charlie 101.
The only reason you need a wife is if you have some sick compulsion to give away half your stuff.
I'm 2.5 Men. Tomorrow at 7 on KTLA 5.
Papa John stopped by a cooking show to make his pizzas for a live audience.
Papa's in the house.
Everything we do, we just try to do it a little bit better.
Now create your own Papa John's pizza for just $10. Your recipe, our ingredients, all pizzas, even our signature specialties, just $10. Plus, Papa size your large pizza and make it 30% bigger for just $2 more. Order at papajohns.com.
Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's.
During the Kia Sweet Summer Sales Event, come and see why we're one of the fastest growing automotive brands in the U.S. Get great deals on the Sorento, Forte, Soul, and the rest of our lineup. And right now, lease the Forte for $149 a month.
You inhale, they inhale. Millions of children continue to be exposed to secondhand smoke. Secondhand smoke causes asthma, a disease that cannot be cured. Protect your loved ones.
June at Pechanga, win up to $1,000 every day, plus weekly gas card and Sea-Doo giveaways, all leading up to a Yamaha 212 SS. Break away to endless possibilities. Pechanga Resort and Casino.
From a Del Taco just up the street, it's the Del Taco Super Special Show with your host, Wes, taco-loving Barry, and loads of guests. Starring the big fat crispy chicken taco, crispy chicken, freshly grated cheese, crisp lettuce, juicy tomatoes, and ancho or ranch sauce wrapped in a warm flatbread. The crispy chicken taco has way more flavor than any boring sandwich.
At a nice price, too.
The Del Taco Super Special Show. Eat it here, watch it on Facebook.
Spend your Mondays getting addicted.
I'm addicted.
Guess you're my boyfriend now.
Guess so. 90210.
Tomorrow at 8 on KTLA 5.
Family Guy is unspeakably funny.
Push! Push!
I am. It won't go back in. Family Guy, every weeknight.
Family Guy, weeknights at 5:30 and midnight on KTLA 5. Actress Tilda Swinton unveils her new labor of love. Plus, she's BFF with the Jonas Brothers on their hit show.
You win.
Actress Chelsea Staub joins us Monday on the KTLA 5 Morning News.
We've heard about John Wooden, the coach, the philosopher. Now, the man, the son of a farmer. He always carried a piece of paper with a message from his father.
It read, "Be true to yourself, make each day your masterpiece, help others, drink deeply from good books, make friendship at fine art, build a shelter against a rainy day." Now KTLA's Steve Hartman sits down with LA Times sports columnist Bill Plaschke for a closer look at a legend.
He never changed, and he insisted that we not change with him and that we stand by the values that have stood, that have made this country so great and made him so great.
Los Angeles Times sports writer Bill Plaschke told our Steve Hartman that he was lucky to call John Wooden a friend. Plaschke visited the legend at his Encino condo, where Wooden's world was purposefully frozen in time.
Since his wife died in 1985, Coach had never changed anything in his apartment. And that's the first thing that made me about Coach, was that here's a man who was still tied to the love of his life.
And the other constant in Wooden's life, a fierce loyalty to UCLA.
When you go to UCLA games at Pauley Pavilion, he was there 4 or 5 rows above the UCLA bench every game, signing autographs at halftime for anybody who wanted to be there with him, talking to anybody who wanted to talk to him.
For anyone who would listen, Wooden would offer the time-worn, down-home wisdom of a simpler time.
I think in a day and age when everything is so complicated, everything is so Hollywood and so glitzy, John Wooden was simple, plain, middle America. He brought us back to a time when we all wanted to be better people as opposed to better athletes. He was at a time when we cared more about each other than we did about the final score.
And in Wooden's care for others, there was always the hint of his trademark half-cracked sly smile.
Yeah, I was sitting in his house one time, and the phone rang, and the answer machine picked up. It was Bill Walton, and Walton started talking, and leaving a message, and we're in the other room. And I look at Coach, he looks at me, and he says, "Well, we got 2 choices. We can sit here and let him finish his message, or I can go pick up the phone." I said, "Well, let's just," he says, "Well, the problem with the first choice is that he'll never finish his message. He'll keep talking until I come to the phone." That Bill never knew when to keep his mouth shut. And he talked and talked and talked, and finally Coach got up and walked over and picked up the phone. He said, "Okay, Bill, I'm here. I'll call you back later. Bye."
The successes of Wooden's Waltons and Kareems have cemented his name in the history books as a coaching great. But hand Coach a pen, and he might choose to rewrite that history.
He wanted people to remember him not as a coach, but as a teacher. He remember him not as a champion, but as a person who taught people for life and taught forever. He'd want people to know more about talking to children in schools, the books he wrote for young people to understand, the help he gave young coaches coming up. That's what he wants to be remembered by. Coach wants to be remembered as a small-town Indiana school teacher who just happened to touch the world.
And Coach Wooden touched our lives 3 years ago when he extended to KTLA News a generous dollop of his Hoosier hospitality.
These are the snapshots of a life fully lived.
Did you ever think that you'd live long enough to be considered not just a civic but a national treasure?
I never thought I'd live this long to be anything. No.
In 2007, KTLA sports reporter Damon Andrews invited inside Coach Wooden's Encino condo for an exclusive and famous Wooden one-on-one chat.
I have peace with myself, and I believe having peace with yourself gives you a certain sort of contentment you have that it won't stir up the things within you that will shorten your time here on earth.
Happy birthday to
Coach had just turned 96 years old.
I know what made this day possible. It's those young men down there.
And it seemed the older Coach got, the more contemporary and modern his references did become. Even when asked if anyone would ever win 88 games in a row like his famous Bruins did back in the 70s.
Did you ever think that Lou Gehrig's consecutive game record would ever be broken by an infielder? I don't think I'll see it in my time, but I wouldn't say that's impossible.
And in this intimate conversation, Coach shared something with KTLA, and it became just one of the reasons we had to pay Coach John Wooden a special tribute from UCLA's historical and magical Pauley Pavilion.
My 27 years at UCLA, the greatest thing that ever happened to me was Pauley Pavilion.
He made history here, even when his homespun and Heartland views clashed with some of his super basketball stars.
What has been more satisfying, Coach, the 30 years since you've retired or the 30 years prior?
I'd say the 30 years since I've retired is the more satisfying, because now, I have a chance now to look back on all the youngsters you've had and see what they're doing, and still establish a relationship with them. Practically all my players got their degrees, and you'll find them in all different professions. I think there's close to 30 attorneys, there's 10 or so dentists, and there's 8 ministers, there's teachers. And their joys are your joys, and their sorrows are your sorrows.
Even then, Coach Wooden seemed at peace with the day we all grieve now for him.
Once I was afraid of dying, terrified of ever lying, petrified of leaving family, home, and friends. But those days are long behind me. Fear of leaving does not bind me, and departure does not hold a single care. Peace does comfort as I ponder a reunion in the yonder with my dearest one who's waiting for me there.
If John Wooden inspired us, you may ask who inspired him. He said many times the biggest influence on his life, his dad Joshua Wooden, a farmer in a small town in Indiana, was Coach's first coach. The Wooden family farm had no running water, no electricity, but what they did have was each other. Without any radio or television, Wooden's dad read to his family every night. John Wooden credits his hard-working and humble father for giving him 3 simple rules to live by: never lie, never cheat, never steal. Words he lived by as he moved west to put UCLA on the map. But Coach also put Martinsville on the map as well.
We love to tell people that too.
Everywhere you go, Coach Wooden's pictures or name is on display. The Martinsville High School gym is named after the legend. There are photographs of him from his days on the basketball team, and some families live on John R. Wooden Drive. His favorite store has always been the Martinsville Candy Kitchen, where he continued to place orders over the years.
He loves dark chocolate, orange-covered jellies.
It's in this small farmhouse where he grew up, and Coach Wooden never forgot his Hoosier roots.
Most people have heard of Coach Wooden, and his name speaks volumes.
Larry Maxwell is a longtime friend of the coach who first met him in 1963 when he graduated from Martinsville High School. He says Wooden was the keynote speaker and talked about his respected pyramid of success.
It means a lot more to me now than what it did back in 1963, when I was probably more anxious about getting out of high school than I was listening to him talk.
It didn't take Larry long to figure out that Wooden had a philosophy on life and basketball he just couldn't ignore.
That, to me, is probably the most impressive thing. He took his Midwest farm principles, took them to the big city in UCLA, but he didn't waver from what he learned at Centerton, Indiana. I don't know of anyone else quite like him.
What did Coach think was the most important word in our language? Love.
And finally, coming up, Coach's eternal love affair with his high school sweetheart.
And don't forget the milk. Pat, I thought this was your morning at grocery shop.
I am. Watch this. I'll take the USDA choice sirloin steak with 2 eggs, hash browns, and 2 hot cakes, times 5. My family will be here any minute.
Norm's USDA choice sirloin steak and eggs. At only $7.99, it's always a good deal.
Honey, forget the grocery list. Meet me at Norm's.
Norm's Restaurants, where life happens 24/7.
For my job, I drive a lot. I spend 36 hours a week sitting right here
looking right there. So I need something that's going to save me a lot of money in gas. And this is a Ford Fusion Hybrid. Probably saved about $1,000 already. Lots of space. Battery sits right here. Sunroof. Navigation system.
Please say a command.
Sync. And it's got heated seats. Never a cold meal again. I know Ford designed that straight for me.
It's the car of the year, and it's got a 5-star rating. Trade up to the Ford Fusion.
Celebrate Empire's 50th anniversary with our gift to you. Free installation on quality name brand carpet. Shop at home and enjoy the wide selection, great prices, and next day installation Empire is famous for, with no interest for a year. Plus, right now, we'll install your new carpet absolutely free. It's our gift to you. But hurry, free installation won't last long. Call today.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
Like it? Go ahead. Check it out. Are those stock? The wheels? Factory. Check this out.
Another somebody who loves a Honda.
Look for money-saving leases and low financing at your Honda dealer, or go to shophonda.com.
In the world of TGI Fridays, 2 people can dine for $20, now including items from our famous Jack Daniel's Grill menu. Share a delicious appetizer, then choose 2 Jack Daniel's Grill entrees, like our mouth-watering ribs or grilled chicken brushed with our famous Jack Daniel's glaze made exclusively for TGI Fridays. Complete the meal by sharing a dessert. For a limited time, select items from our Jack Daniel's Grill menu are offered in our 3 courses for 2 people for $20. TGI Fridays, where you and your friends share good food and good times.
It's Charlie 101.
The only reason you need a wife is if you have some sick compulsion to give away half your stuff.
I'm 2.5 Men, tomorrow at 7 on KTLA 5. You're watching KTLA 5 Los Angeles.
Concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are. That's my favorite John Wooden quote.
We all fell in love with Wooden's words, but none more special than those for the love of his life, his wife Nell.
I'm very much in love with her.
You may think basketball was the love of John Wooden's life, but above any NCAA championship or title, nothing could ever compare to his high school sweetheart, Nell. Nell was his first and only love. Married for 53 years, she made his blue eyes twinkle, and in classic Wooden form, he used their marital success as a teaching tool.
There's only one way. Truly, truly, truly love. The most powerful thing there is. If it's true. If it's true, it must be true.
Nell passed away on March 21st, 1985, and ever since, on the 21st of every month, Wooden writes his beloved a love letter.
Well, I say, honey, I miss you. More than ever. My love is still there, and I'm still keeping my promise.
It's this belief in eternal love that helped Wooden make peace with dying while he was still living.
Why should I be afraid? That's the most wonderful thing that'll ever happen. It really is.
Though Coach Wooden has moved on to reunite with his beloved Nell, his legacy lives on in the hearts and the memories of those whose lives he touched daily.
In all of the familiar LA area haunts where Wooden spent his later days, he will never be forgotten.
Many mornings each week, Coach Wooden ate breakfast here in Tarzana at Vips Cafe, not far from his Encino home. Inside, owner Paul Ma and his wife Lucy have built a makeshift memorial to their friend at the booth where Coach would sit to place his familiar order.
Usually, Coach will have number 2. The bacon, scrambled egg with the English muffin, and the hot tea.
And to sweeten Coach's hot tea, only the cafe's busboy Felipe had just the right touch with a squeeze of honey.
Felipe will squeeze the honey in his spoon You know, when Felipe has a day off, I try to do that, but I'm not good as Felipe. Felipe always gave the good amount honey for Coach.
Coach Wooden gave signed copies of his books to Paul and Lucy, books filled with life wisdom, which Paul says helped him make his cafe business a success. Coach even gave Paul and Lucy a book of his teachings in their native Chinese.
I think the whole world knows Coach, and even in China.
Wooden's warmth and gentle good spirit remains with all the Vips Cafe regulars who looked forward to seeing Coach each morning.
Well, see, I don't look at him as a coach. I look at him as a man. He's a very good friend.
He was such a fine gentleman, a magnificent human being. You know, it was really an honor to know him. When he'd leave, he'd go down to the end of the counter and come up to the door, go along us and pat everybody on the shoulder. I used to love that. I used to ask for extra pats.
Today, there's a void at Vips Cafe with Wooden's absence, but all his friends who just know he's keeping an eye on them still have a simple message for Coach.
I'll see you later.
Of course, the influence and passing of John Wooden has powerfully felt here in Pauley Pavilion and in basketball circles everywhere.
But you might be surprised, as were we, to find the legacy of the legendary coach hiding in even the most unlikely of places. Tucked in the quiet hills above Altadena, California, is the home of a Hoosier, a fan of Indiana basketball, and a friend of fellow Indiana native John Wooden.
We're Hoosiers. We live basketball. We eat, sleep, drink basketball, played basketball in the winter with cotton gloves on out in the alley, you know. It's ingrained in us.
School teacher Larry Harder met John Wooden in 1973 when he and his wife Carol drove with Coach to an event. It began a lifelong friendship and launched a secret lair in the Harder household of John Wooden mementos.
I'd see John and he would give me certain things. You see pictures, photographs. So I started laminating these things and I started making a memorabilia room, and a lot of it focused around, of course, John, his letters, and so it became this.
Harder's walls are simply brimming with memories of his finest moments with Coach Wooden.
These are personal letters that John wrote to us. Letters from John expressing love and gratitude, and he was just such a gracious guy. This is Nell and John Wooden, a court dedication. John's last national championship in 1975. This is one of the last pictures of John and myself.
Out of gratitude to Coach Wooden for a lifetime of friendship, Harder made a point of sending letters of support to Wooden as his health declined.
The last 2 years, I just made it my own little commitment to write to John every other week.
And though his friend is gone, Harder takes joy in recollections of the good times with Coach Wooden.
And I just say, God, thanks for the opportunity to meet this man, to know him, to be able to sit with him, to be able to enjoy him. And so the memories are great, and I can feed off of those.
And Harder is certain that his friend John Wooden, after a life well lived, is now truly in a better place.
I believe he has perfect peace. Perfect peace.
Thank you for remembering Coach John Wooden, the legend, and his legacy with us.
The City of Angels has certainly lost an angel.
Though through his life lessons, he will live on with all of us.
Thanks, Coach. We'll see you later.